I was emphasizing that physics is an experimental science and we live in the four dimensions, we experience the four dimensions, and so anything more than that is not testable. But we can still imagine certain things like, okay, well, what if we actually experience lesser dimensions than there actually kind of are in nature? And sort of like this torus example is kind of helping you to picture this, where you could think that you are on that torus as far as your dimensions, but what if you could access another extra dimension with respect to the torus, and then you can cut straight across? Why don't we notice all these extra dimensions if they are really there? So one question, of course, that we have kind of looked at before as well, is that if there are such extra dimensions like what string theory kind of needs in order to exist, why don't we experience them? Why can't we cut across? Okay? Why do we only see 3 space dimensions and 1 time dimension? The suggestion is that the other dimensions are curved up. I actually really like this suggestion. It's very fuzzy. It's a very cute suggestion, so listen up. So, why do we see only 3 space dimensions and 1 time dimension? Why not the other ones? The suggestion is that the other dimensions are curved up into a space of a very small size, something like a millionth of an inch. So very tiny indeed. This is so small that we just don't notice it. We see only 1 time dimension and 3 space dimensions in which space-time is fairly flat. Yes, close your eyes, Clint, and just listen. So we see only 1 time dimension and 3 space dimensions because the other dimensions are curled up like a little baby into a space of very small size, something like a millionth of an inch. It is like the surface of a straw. If you look at it closely, you see it is 2-dimensional, a straw. The position of a point on the straw is described by 2 numbers: the length along the straw and the distance around the circular direction. But if you look at it from a distance, you don't see the thickness of the straw, and it looks 1-dimensional, right? You'd have to go really close to the straw in order to really see its circumference. If you go far away, you would just think it's 1-dimensional. So it is with space-time. So it is with space-time. So similar thing happens with space-time. On a very small scale, it is 10-dimensional and highly curved. But on bigger scales, you don't see the curvature or the extra dimensions. So maybe we do live on a bigger scale than that particular dimension. And so maybe on our hour scales, we just see the 4 dimensions. But on very, very much more tiny scales, there might be 10 dimensions. If this picture is correct, it spells bad news for would-be space travelers. The extra dimensions would be far too small. Time travel people, the extra dimensions would be far too small to allow a spaceship through. So it's not like you can easily, with your macroscopic scales, go utilize this. However, it raises another major problem. Why should some, and by the way, this is good that he brings up this issue, because we did ask the question last time, why don't we see more visitors from the future if time travel is indeed realistically possible? We know it's possible, but is it pragmatic? Is it realistic? Partly it could be string theory giving us the answer, well, that even if you did it, the scales involved are so small, it doesn't really help macroscopic objects to do time travel like us, like aliens or human beings that are sort of, or aliens, well, human beings are all our scale, but aliens might also be our scale, who knows? Or maybe aliens can actually access the 10 dimensions because maybe they're very tiny. Who knows? We have to keep an open mind when it comes to aliens as well, okay? So if this picture is